Members of the 107th Legislature and distinguished guests, I present to you the Governor of the great state of Nebraska, Governor Pete Ricketts.
Thank you. Good morning. President Foley, Speaker Hilgers, members of the legislature. It is a privilege to be with you here on the closing of the second session of the 107th Nebraska Legislature. I have just one word for this session and this body. Wow. Wow. What fantastic work you have done in this short 60-day session. Historic work. Work that will have generational impact. I actually want to take a step back a few years to recount some of the successes that you have had. Let's go back to 2020. We are in a worldwide pandemic. Your session was interrupted. And yet, while other states were shutting down, you came back and finished the people's work. You were able to pass bills that protected preborn babies from the barbaric practice of dismemberment abortion, and one of the most significant property tax relief packages ever, LB 1107. This year, Nebraskans are understanding that important work from 2020. When we filed our income taxes, we got a 25.3% rebate back from the state for whatever we paid in to our local school district in property taxes. That's significant. And then 2021 came along. And you built on that by passing tax relief for our seniors, for our veterans. You helped connect 30,000 Nebraskans to broadband. And then you came back in a special session and redrew our maps for redistricting. We were the third state to get that done. And your maps are solid. Other states are still fighting over their maps. Tremendous work. And then we come into this legislative session, a short 60-day session. And you are able to pass the most significant tax relief bill we have ever had at the state of Nebraska. You built upon the tax relief in 1107. Make sure that that wouldn't go away and added more property tax relief. You were able to accelerate the tax relief for our seniors. And you were able to provide income tax relief for our individuals and our businesses. Now, working together, we've been able to provide $4 billion in property tax relief through my administration. This bill, LB 873, will provide another $3.4 billion in tax relief by the year 2027. Folks, this tax relief bill, is 12 times more relief than any tax relief bill in any previous administration. It is truly historic. But wait, that's not all. We also took tremendous steps to protect the public safety. You all passed bills that will make investments in our law enforcement training academy in Grand Island so that we can continue to train our law enforcement officers here in the state and make sure they get the proper training they need to serve the public. You invested in our Nebraska State Patrol Crime Lab so that we can help bring justice for those victims of crime. You established reciprocity for law enforcement officers in other states so that they can come work to protect the public safety here. You waived college tuition fees for law enforcement officers who are attending our state colleges or our community colleges. And you provide tax relief to retired law enforcement officers who are paying for their own health care. In addition to that, you set aside $175 million to replace our Nebraska State Penitentiary. And while you didn't give us the authorization to move forward, you have set aside the money. And a future legislature will either have to replace the Nebraska State Penitentiary or, I believe, invest millions more in updating an antiquated facility. But all that together, it represents historic investments in public safety. I can't think of another time when the legislature has done more to invest in public safety than in this legislative session. And then you went on to invest in our water resources. The Speaker in a Star Wars project will help make investments at Lake McConaughey for a marina there, expand the marina at Lewis and Clark Lake, Convention Center and Lodge, Niobrara State Park, and begin the work on a lake between Lincoln and Omaha that will not only create wonderful amenities, but will also help us store more of our water here in the state. These investments will have generational impacts and help us attract and retain people in our state. Also importantly, you gave the state the authorization to move forward on the Perkins County Canal Project. This is vital for us to protect our water resources. We must build this canal and reservoir system to assure that water from the South Platte River will continue to flow to Nebraska in the non-irrigation season. The state of Colorado has already announced their intention to take every drop of water that they legally can. If we do not have this legal resource, they will take it all. And folks, we can already see the importance of this today here in Lincoln. Just recently, the city of Lincoln asked consumers to conserve water usage because of the drought we're facing. Can you imagine how much more difficult that would be if we were not receiving that water from the South Platte River? It will be important for future legislatures to fund the completion of this project to assure that we can continue to get the water out of the South Platte River that we need not only for drinking water, but for irrigation, power generation, and to protect the natural environment. A fourth historic effort is the work you did with regard to ARPA. $1.04 billion that you allocated to our state to be able to help us grow. That money will help contribute to the overall efforts to revitalize North and South Omaha. $255 million. Another $194 million for other underserved communities across the state that will invest in economic development, housing, financial literacy, and other projects to help our state continue to grow. You made investments in our community colleges so we can train our workforce and the next generations of Nebraskans to take the jobs that we have. And you've invested in numerous other projects. And one of the ones I think is going to be so important for our state is increasing what we're paying people in 24/7 facilities so they can continue to serve citizens here in Nebraska. Any one of these by themselves will be historic. But you have accomplished all four, and many others, but four particularly with generational impacts and a historic nature, in a short 60-day session. You should be very proud of the accomplishments you have made to pull this all together, to work together, and get these bills to my desk. It's an amazing accomplishment. Now, as always, there are numerous people who are involved in passing this legislation. And I want to thank just a few to highlight who've been so important in passing these things. I want to start by thanking Speaker Hilgers. The Speaker, and yeah, let's give him a round of applause. We can give him a round of applause here. It's a good place. The Speaker and I have had a wonderful working relationship. It's been a great cooperation between his office and my office to be able to work on all these different pieces of legislation. And I appreciate the time, effort, and energy he has put in. I also want to thank Chair Linehan of the Revenue Committee and all the Revenue Committee members for their effort in bringing about this historic tax relief. And not only was it Senator Linehan, but also we had other senators who were part of crafting that bill that could get to my gifts. Senators Breezy, Senators Friesen, Senator Hughes, all had a hand in crafting that bill, as well as the Senator Linehan and Speaker Hilgers. So I appreciate all your work in getting that done. Another important accomplishment, and not just in this session, but across all 8 years of my terms, has been working with you to make sure we craft a budget that serves the people of Nebraska and continues to control our budget. And the man who was in charge of the Appropriations Committee for the last 6 years, Senator Stinner, has done a phenomenal job. We have worked, yeah, give him a round of applause. We have worked together to serve the people of Nebraska, but also craft budgets that across those 8 budget years increases spending on average 2.8% per year. That's a terrific accomplishment. It keeps it below that threshold of 3% and allows us to not only manage our budget, but also vital in delivering that tax relief. And all the work that you have done, we can see today in the results. We can see that the work that you did to provide the resources to the state during the pandemic have helped us have a nation-leading pandemic response. Politico ranked Nebraska the #1 state for pandemic response, and the National Bureau of Economic Research ranked us #2, still giving us an A+. We see that we just got ranked this week for the most recession-resilient state because of our low unemployment rate, low debt. And of course, that's one of the other manifestations of your great work over these years. Nebraska has the lowest unemployment rate in the country and the lowest unemployment rate in state history. In fact, we have more Nebraskans employed today, 1,037,000, than we have ever had employed in our state history. Nearly 20,000 more than pre-pandemic. And when you have Nebraskans employed and low unemployment rate, that means there's opportunities for Nebraska families. And this is why the Annie Casey Foundation ranks Nebraska the #2 place for children's economic well-being. And that makes sense. Parents have jobs, children are taken care of. That's part of the accomplishments. And we also see the strength of our economy reflected in the revenues we're collecting here at the state. When we adjourned Sine Die a year ago, we had a forecast. Since then, the forecasting board has raised that forecast by over $1 billion for this 2-year biennium. And folks, through 3/4 of 1 year of that 2-year biennium, we have already collected $757 million above that forecast toward that $1 billion. And that's how we can provide the tax relief and still make all the investments we talked about in public safety and water and all the other projects we discussed. When you all steward this state well, we see those results. Now, there's several other people I'd like to thank. In my team, we have numerous people who have worked hard throughout the years to be able to serve Nebraskans. And especially during the pandemic, we had people working very, very hard, around the clock, literally, to respond to that pandemic. We had a number of people who were working with you as we crafted legislation for this session, this historic session. I've got wonderful cabinet members. I've got wonderful people in our agencies. It would take far too long for me to name all of them. But there are several that I do want to mention. First, I'd like to mention my Chief of Staff, Matt Milberger. He is only 40 years old, and he's essentially the Chief Operating Officer of a 13,000-person organization. He's a phenomenal talent, and he has worked to ensure our operations run smoothly and to make sure state government continues to serve people. Can we please give him a round of applause, please? I also want to thank somebody you're all familiar with, someone who has worked in this building and has years of institutional knowledge and how to craft law and serve the people of Nebraska. Someone who's just worked, again, long, long hours during our legislative session, working directly with many of you. Lauren Kintner, as the director of my Policy Research Office, works her tail off for the state. And finally, there's another young man who has stepped up into the role that he just does a wonderful job. It's in my budget office. He has helped us craft these budgets, worked on the tax bills, and make sure all the numbers line up. And again, it's just another phenomenal talent. Please help me thank my budget director, Lee Will. And of course, I would not be able to be governor if it wasn't for the love and support of my lovely wife, Suzanne Shore, our First Lady. Can we please give her a round of applause? Oh, look at that. You got a standing ovation back there. That's awesome. Thank you. All this success is always a team effort. It requires you all working together, collaborating, cooperating. And I want to thank you for the work that you do for the people of Nebraska. You clearly have placed that priority, whether it was in 2020, when you came back to finish the people's work, in 2021, when you came back for redistricting, and this year, in this short session, passing historic legislation on taxes, public safety, water, ARPA. You all spend time away from your friends and family, and not for a lot of money. I have seen how hard you work. When you come to this chamber and then go to your hearings that can last till 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. The people of Nebraska probably don't fully appreciate how much time you invest in doing the people's work here in the state. Thank you so much for all you do. We have 13 members that will be leaving this body. I'd like to ask those 13 members to please stand and be recognized. As you leave, you can take great satisfaction knowing that you were part of a legislative body that truly passed historic legislation. Once again, thank you all for what you do for the people of Nebraska, the sacrifices you make, the hard work you put in, and congratulations on the great success that you have had in this historic second session of the 107th Nebraska Legislature. God bless you all in your work, and God bless the great state of Nebraska.
Thank you, Governor Ricketts. Would the escort committee please assist the governor and the First Lady as they depart the chamber?